What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google. So, you wrote the bestseller 5% More. Let's talk a little bit about the power of making small changes to achieve extraordinary results, my man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, so that was my second book, and it was funny how that book kind of came about. I wrote my first book, Ask More, Get More, which is a Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller. Sold tens of thousands of copies, and number one in like dozens, if not hundreds, of categories. And I didn't have an idea to write a second book. A kid from the projects that was a Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author. It's pretty cool. So I was in the spin class. I'm a big dude in the spin class with my girlfriend, and I didn't want to be there. If you've ever done a spin class, they're kind of fun. You get somebody in the front of the room, and now, Peloton has obviously taken that, kind of to a whole nother level, but it's the same kind of experience where you're getting hyped up and you get somebody in the front of the room that's, kind of keeping you going. And you usually like, some sort of hype, music in there, and it's kind of a fun atmosphere. And, we got to the end of the class and I'm dying. And it's a 45-minute class. And she said, look, I want you to give me 5% more effort. We have 5 minutes left in this class, and I want you to give me 5% more effort. If you give me 5% more effort, you're going to burn more calories. Your heart rate's going to increase. When you get off the bike, your metabolic rate's going to stay higher. You're going to burn more calories then, and ultimately you're going to live a healthier and happier life. And then she said, anybody can do anything 5% more. And that's when the light bulb went off in my head. And I looked around the room. To the right was a pregnant woman, and two rows in front of me, there was a guy who was probably in his 80s, and everybody picked up the pace. And it just really clicked with me. And I was like, wow, man, I wonder if there's another book out there like it. And so I wrote that down. I got in my car and I wrote down 5% more. And I started doing research, and I couldn't find anything. And quite frankly, there wasn't really anything out there that talked about, these small changes, these incremental changes, and how it works. And then I started to dive into the science. I'm not a science guy. I'm a lawyer by trade, but I started to dive into the science. And you look at some of these other entrepreneurs and these other people that are really, making a name for themselves. And they talk about, going all in, or, Grant Cardone and I can text Grant right now, and he's been on my podcast twice. And like I said, I've hung out with him, a few times, and, the 10X, kind of mentality, I think a lot of people misunderstand really kind of what he's saying. People talk about 10Xing, or going all in and having no backup plan, when in fact the science actually proves that your mind, your actual physiology, your brain chemistry, the neuroplasticity in your brain, the neurotransmitters in your brain, they don't work that way. You cannot sustain 10Xing your activity for a long period of time. We're just not genetically made that way, and it won't work. But what does work is small incremental changes, and you compound on those changes over and over and over again. It's that old, ism, so to speak. If you saved a penny a day and compounded on it and added another penny each and every day and doubled it and doubled it and doubled it, in 30 days you'll have 5.3 million. My girlfriend said to me, Mike, I know you're not a math guy. You got to do the math on that. That doesn't make sense. Well, it's a reality. So it's the power of compounding and just adding to it each and every day. And it works virtually for anything in your life, whether it be fitness, whether it be business, or what have you. And that's really kind of how I've grown my business. I've quote gone all in essence, but really what I've done is I've just added to it each and every single day.
Beautiful, man. That's really what it's all about. And I think people really have a tendency of overthinking it, and they think that success is made by like these massive things that you implement all at once and like doing 100 different things at once. And those things, like, they can bring success, and every now and then you are going to hit a home run. But in order to hit those home runs, you have to have the consistent foundation to support those home runs.
Yeah, I mean, what wins championships? I mean, just watch the movie Moneyball. It's singles, not home runs.
Exactly. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about the power of asking. Like, I always tell people that every question they don't ask is a no. So tell me a little bit about how that's played into your life and your journey up until this point.
Sure. Yeah. So my first book is titled Ask More, Get More. And, when I started to think about, my background and when people would always ask me, so Mike, what makes you so different, from your family members or the people that you grew up with? And I started to think, I'm like, well, we grew up in the same household, the same mom, same dad, same environment, same school system, like same everything, but yet somehow I was able to rise above it all and do some great things. And I started writing it down, and I really kind of came to the one realization that as a young person, I just asked more questions, and I asked for help. And if I didn't understand something, I just asked. And then and when you do that, you do get more. You're right. I mean, if you don't ask, you don't know. Wayne Gretzky says, famous quote, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And so, so many of us are afraid to ask. Look, to this day, sometimes even I'm afraid to ask, and I wrote a book called Ask More, Get More. And so the other part about that too is just to recognize that, we are human beings, and, we're not robots. Unless you're an absolute, truly clinical sociopath or a narcissistic sociopath, you have to have those feelings. You also have to have those fears because, even though, again, Zig Ziglar talks about false evidence appearing as real, you can harness that, that fear. When I was practicing law, I was waiting for a hearing, and I was super nervous, and there was this guy next to me, and I'm here in Mass, and he happened to be from Texas for whatever reason, and I've seen him a bunch of times in the courtroom. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and I said, "Hey man," I said, how long you been practicing? He said, "Michael, I've been practicing law 25 years." And I said, "Do you still get nervous?" And he says, "The day I stop getting nervous is the day I start practicing law." So, you're going to have that, those fears of asking. You're going to have those fears of being rejected, because you're going to certainly be rejected more than you're going to be accepted. But that's just a part of life. But like you said, if you don't ask, you'll never know what the answer is. And what's the downside? So you ask and they say no, like, who cares? Yeah. You know what? I understand that it does mentally and physically hurt to hear that no. And in any of these salespeople, these sales trainers out there, they say, "Oh, I love getting a no because I know I'm so much closer to a yes." That's bullshit. Like, nobody likes the no. I don't care what anybody says, but you do mathematically know that eventually you will get to that yes. So, that's really kind of what they're saying. They're saying, all right, well, I know if I ask 10 times, I'm going to get 2 yeses, right? That's 20% close rate. And that's a pretty good close rate.
Awesome, man. So I do got to ask, going from a lawyer to an entrepreneur, there has to have been skills and knowledge that you were able to carry over that came in handy. What were some of the things that, like, maybe you were glad that you knew, or like just how did that carry over?
Yeah, so as a young child, in second grade, I wrote down that I wanted to be a lawyer when I didn't even, in fact, necessarily know what a lawyer was. You get that when you're a kid. They ask you, at least when I was a kid, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And you write it down, fireman, school teacher, policeman, doctor, or whatever. I didn't even know what a lawyer was. I mean, I probably obviously did because I wrote it down. And so that was kind of like one of the things that I wanted in life. And so that was a goal, like since I was in second grade. It's kind of crazy when I look back, and my mom showed that to me. I didn't even realize I did it. So, as a lawyer, I had 2 choices. I was actually selling cars out of college, and I was very successful at it. And it was a great move for me. I didn't want to do it because of the image that people have of car salespeople. But again, Grant Cardone, that's exactly what he started out doing. Napoleon Hill, from the Law of Success, did the same thing. And also, by the way, studied law. So, I had the choice of either getting my MBA or going to law school. And when I sat down with the owner of this dealership, who happened to go to BC in Columbia, got his master's from Columbia, he's like, "Look, go and get your master's, and come work for me in the finance office, and then maybe someday you can become the general manager and make a lot of money, blah blah blah." But I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I also knew that I would spend a little bit more time within the realm of academia, because it takes more time to get your law degree than it does your MBA. But I also knew that I would put myself in an elite class of individuals worldwide, as far as again, academia. You have, as far as the most learned people out there, you have priests and you have lawyers, and then you have doctors, right? The people that study the most. So that's what I knew that I wanted. And when you're in law school, you can choose what you want. So like I focused a lot on business and corporations and contract law, but I also spent half of my time in criminal law because that's what I knew, because most of my family members were in and around that space. So I went down those two, and I learned a lot as a lawyer. And when I got a job as a lawyer, I got really lucky to work in-house for a company that I was already working for. So I kind of understood the business, and I learned it, pretty quickly. And as general counsel of a company, to be effective as a lawyer, you need to know every aspect of the business. And so that's kind of how that journey happened.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication, Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jayson Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lechter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Kwik, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.